This picture is here for no particular reason other than it's old. It's our grandfather with his Model A, with 4 of his children standing behind him, or around him. They are our Aunt Lena, little RV, and Big Richard at that point. Our father is not in the picture, but it is an old picture that Mert Patterson brought to a family celebration for Ross Patterson's 80th birthday in 1994. So that's how that surfaced. Again, looking for pictures of our parents. 1945, they start to surface. Here we have them leaning up against, I think, a Ford. Some people may argue with me about that, but they begin to surface at this point because other people have cameras, they're bringing them around. By 1953, some things had changed around the house. For one thing, I had arrived. I'm a 1952 baby. And I sent this photograph around to immediate members of my brothers and sisters, that part of the family, just a few days ago, because February 1st of this year was kind of a landmark date. It was the 85th anniversary of the marriage of Ross and Ruby Patterson. So I had a little habit, either on birthdays or anniversaries, I like to send old photos around to family members. And I asked everybody in the family, I said, when was this photo taken and what was the purpose? Nobody can nail it down exactly. We think that's a 1949 Ford in the picture. We think, this is my guess, frankly, it looked like Daddy's holding something that might be a baby towel or diaper. And we don't really quite know who's taking the photograph, so we're just doing some wild guessing. The same day, it kind of started a little tradition that we'll see repeated. The same day we have somebody taking a picture of Mom and her girls. There we have Mom on the far left, followed by Grace, Alice, and Jerry, and the little squirt down the middle, that's Judy, okay? Did I get those right? Okay. Sometimes I'm not totally sure, but I think that one is pretty close to right. Going to church photo, who knows? It's hard to say. The photos did start to emerge during that particular time frame. This photograph is another one of those contact photos, which is very small, about the size of a quarter. And I have thought for years that this is Jerry and somebody. And I don't know who the somebody is, and now that I enlarge it with the benefit of the computer, Jerry, is that really you? Could be Jerry, we don't know. To give you an idea of how these things start out, that's what it looked like before we started blowing it up and trying to get the exposure corrected on Photoshop. So that's where you are. Now, this is Jerry's famous barefoot picture that we opened with. Now we've opened it up, she's got a friend with her. This young lady, who is quite prettier in her own right, was a friend of Jerry and Grace's, and I understand her name was Lily Bell Hudson, H-U-T-T-S-O-N, is that right? She shows up in a lot of photos, and could have been an influence on these two girls, it's hard to say, but she's there a lot. So, then we get down to, I'm guessing on this one, Jerry, but there, you must like this dress. Either that or it's your only one. and knowing our father, it probably was your only one, okay? Your day-to-day dress. And I'm guessing that this might be Galveston and that might be the seawall.
I have no idea.
I don't know. You look kind of impish there. I don't know, my dear. So we come on, and I think we're moving forward in time. This is the front gate, and that fluffiness of the hair and the smile and the twinkle begins to appear all the more. And I'm throwing roses at you, Jerry, but they're very sincerely meant, because it becomes pretty obvious that this lady is something special. And I really mean it. I've got 3 sisters, and they're all beautiful ladies. And they all stand out in their own right, and if it was their birthdays, I'd be bragging about them. But it's Jerry's birthday, so it's her day to receive the bragging rights. And as we see, she's the kind of young girl that's going to turn some heads. And it happened. It happened with both of these two. This is Grace and Jerry. In those days, they were working, I think, at a drugstore in downtown Austin. What was the name of the drugstore?
Ransom's.
Okay. I keep wanting to say Summers Rexall, but that was too late in time.
Mom and Grace that worked there.
I see. Okay. Well, as we go forward, we begin to see these two. Sometimes they're dressed in church clothes, sometimes what looks like business suits, sometimes working clothes. We get up to what must be around 1950 or so. It's obviously it's Easter Sunday because there's an Easter basket in there somewhere. Judy is hunting Easter eggs and Jerry is helping. And what I tell you about turning heads, this is where it happens. I'm telling you, Austin High School is a place where it can be nothing but trouble or something good sometimes. I spent 1 year at Austin High and I saw the troublesome side of it, but back in those days, some 20 years earlier, I'm really glad this happened. I'm really glad the Swedish boy got his head turned by the Hill Country girl, and I'm really glad that the German boy turned the other Hill Country girl's head too, because they were great additions to the family, and we're glad to have Linzes and Burklunds in our line now. So the pictures started happening, and Hollis and I got a kick out of this one, because here's Grace with somebody behind her we can't identify. They're in Mom and Daddy's front yard. They're taking a picture of something, we know not what, until we get to the next picture. Must be that guy taking a picture of us. In those days, you can kind of tell how this was going. It'd be Sunday, you'd go to church, you'd have a Sunday afternoon date. Am I pretty close to right on here, Jerry? Pretty close, okay. And Henry, being the clown that he always was, that's the guy who married Grace, Henry Lenz, and some of his family's here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Richard. Henry could not stand a chance to clown. And gotta remember, cameras are new. This is like videotape was new for some of us some 20, 30 years ago. You gotta play with it, and boy, he did. He was jumping in the middle of every photograph, whether you liked it or not. So we get up to Mount Bunnell, and we start getting some pictures of the dates and so forth. And sometimes it would be in Mom and Dad's front yard, but you could tell one thing was very true. Jokes aside and kidding aside. Jerry loved Wilburn. Wilburn loved Jerry, and that was the way it was meant to be. So we go forward, 1952, it's June. I was there, I was inside my mother, but that's the way that goes sometimes. We had a big wedding, and it was all one of those things that everybody bragged about. Mama was nowhere to be seen in the pictures because you could not say the word pregnant in 1952. You had to hide it. She was around the side, but Mama was about halfway through term with me, and we just couldn't be photographed, sorry. So we went through that. I talked to Grace about this picture where we have the bridesmaids and the grooms and all this kind of stuff. This has been a few years ago by now. And I asked Grace, I said, what are the names of these bridesmaids and grooms? She couldn't remember. She must be getting old. You know? This is on videotape. I know I'm going to get spanked for this, but can you remember the names of these bridegrooms? There you go.
And I don't remember Grace's.
But that was the one she couldn't remember. It's some lady I worked with down at the drugstore.
Louis Sharstedt stood up again.
Yeah.
And the preacher was on the lead.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, we're on a roll. We're going forward. Irene. Can't remember she could remember Irene, she could not remember the last name. She Grace. Okay, I bounce forward to what is my all-time #1 favorite picture in this collection on the hit parade. And I'll tell you why. There I am, 60 years ago. The occasion was the celebration of Ross and Rudy Patterson's 25th wedding anniversary, and one of the ways I know that is because I had a corsage on. I didn't usually have a corsage on, but that day I did. And I look at that picture, and I've been told not to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Man, sexy. And Jerry, you don't look too bad either. You know? Well, we had a lot of fun with this picture over the time. I've shown this picture at just about every family gathering where they let me show pictures, and I like it because of all of the reasons that don't need to be stated, even with one-word comments. Jerry, you look good. You look great. So, same occasion, Mom and Daddy hit the 25th wedding anniversary. There we are, we're all gathered. Wilburn's in the crowd, they let him in this one. And then the portraits started to flow. And one thing I noticed about Jerry and Wilburn is great love story, absolutely. But they take a picture and they look as serious as an undertaker. Hard to get them to smile for those formal portraits, you know? So then about sometime in the early 70s, by the time I'd reached a little bit of age, I was 21 in this particular photograph, the family started deciding every time we get together, which is less frequent than a solar eclipse, we should gather the 5 siblings, because there's 5 of us now, and we should take a picture. And to my knowledge, this one in 1973 is the first time we did that. It was Thanksgiving, we were at Alice and Bill's house. I'm low left, if you can't point me out. I've had a full head of beautiful brown hair. What happened? I don't know, but in any event, I like this picture for a number of reasons, one of which is I know that I was exactly 21 years old on the day this picture was taken. And my brother Steve was exactly 21 years older than that, 42. And our father was exactly 21 years older than that, 63. It's a pretty good widespread, but it worked. So, the age gaps didn't change much. Here we are 10 years later. It's Alice's house up on the lake. It's 1983, and we all have shorts and all that sort of thing on. And Mama teased Grace unmercifully for wearing shorts. The fact is, every girl there was wearing shorts, but that's the way it got to be that day. We move forward. It's now Mom and Daddy's 65th wedding anniversary. It's 1989, and everybody's got that very serious look to them. The last time we got together for a group photo, it was 2011 at Jerry's house. It was Thanksgiving again. And all I can say is time catches up with some of us, but Jerry, you still got that beautiful smile. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm awfully proud of these folks, and particularly Jerry. We come from some humble beginnings. You know, we've done pretty well if we say so ourselves. It's a pleasant family to be a part of, and I'm glad just to have a small stake in the claim in it. And I just have to say, harkening back to those first pictures, it's a beautiful thing to see how our sister Jerry has morphed from that beautiful, sweet girl from the hill country to that beautiful lady on the porch that was turning guys' eyes, to a lady that has still the most enchanting smile that I've ever known. Jerry, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I think I've been told that the real entertainment is about to start. I'm not sure what Adam and some of his brothers and sisters and cousins have got cooked up, but it's supposed to be a lot funnier than anything I can think of. Okay.